What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today we're going to talk about the victim cards that's being played out as everything is going on. Ron Rivera gets a victim card. Somehow, some way, Fan Snyder works his magic and he gets a victim card, and I'm going to explain that later. But let's start with Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera actually had the audacity. When I told y'all about how arrogant he was, everybody thought I was just being over the top. I was sitting up there not trusting in what Ron was doing. But I told y'all that this is the level of arrogance I'm talking about when it comes to Ron Rivera. He sat up there, goes on radio, and says that we probably should not have won the division. These guys are still learning. These guys there's all this stuff. We're still trying to develop. Oh, you talking about a rebuild? Is that what you're talking about? Because where was all this development talk when Dwayne Haskins was the quarterback? When all of us got upset at the fact that you benched him after 4 games? Where was all that? Where was all that development talk when everybody was sitting here talking about the factor of keeping on Kevin O'Connell? Where was all the developmental talk about that? Huh? How about the factor of you talking about development, but yet your all-season moves indicated that you felt this team was ready now? Nobody brings in Ryan Fitzpatrick thinking that, oh, we're still building, so we're just going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick here for a year. Nobody is smart enough to do that. Nobody is silly enough to do that. Nobody. We could have just went with Taylor Heinicke when everybody was saying, everybody was like, well, let's just go with Taylor Heinicke and Kyle Allen. No, you felt the need to bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Then you talking about the fact that you don't want to put Jamin, you don't want to ruin you don't want to ruin the mentality of a young rookie linebacker in Jamin Davis. You wasn't thinking about that with Dwayne Haskins. You was not thinking about that with Dwayne Haskins at all. Dwayne Haskins got none of your sympathy. None of it. And here we are now in a situation where the culture that's being built here is the culture that's always been here. A culture of soap opera drama. Soap opera drama. That's all this is. We had the craziness that happened last year with all the stuff that happened last year. Then we get into this year. We got your hand-chosen pick trainer is under DEA investigation. Like I said, it's just like a soap opera. It's just like a soap opera. I'm the one who killed your brother. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, and by the way, I'm now pregnant by your brother. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, where's this culture building that we supposed to have? It just seems like here's another. I actually sent it out there, excuses. That I sent it out there after the game where I said, excuses, is this the culture that Ron Rivera wanted to create? And clearly it is. How do you sit up here and get the power that you've been given and basically you're about to squander it? About to squander every inch of it. How many of us would have been happy and would have seen the change that would have really gone on if Mike Shanahan had gotten the same power Ron Rivera got. Ron Rivera goes on the radio and has the nerve to whine like a baby. Guys. Come on, man. Come on, man. What is the problem? You know, we as fans, we all have this affinity for great coaches. All of us. We've all had the affinity for great coaches, which is why Greg Williams is still talked about to this day, and the man hasn't been here since 2007. That man was here 2007. The man has not been here for pretty much over 10 years, and we're still talking about him and how phenomenal his coaching was. And then people say, oh, well, he had all types of talent. But guess what? He ain't had that type of talent on the Jets. He ain't had that type of talent when he was with the Bills. He ain't had that type of talent when his ass was down in Jacksonville. He built he built those defenses. Tennessee, he built those defenses. New Orleans, he built that defense. And here we got Ron Rivera, who got the nerve to go up in there, and all of a sudden now everybody's young. When yet Dwayne Haskins and his immature behavior, he's not a team player. He's not doing what we asked him to do. Gets him released before his rookie deal is even up. And then to insult, this is the part that gets me the most, to insult what is known as one of the smartest fan bases in all of NFL. We've gotten that moniker because we've all seen through the smoke and mirrors of each person or each coach that has come in here. We've seen through it. We know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing. And yet and still you got the nerve to insult us like we don't understand the factor of a rebuild. We understand rebuilds. We've seen our teams in this area rebuild. We saw the Wizards rebuild when they started with Gilbert Arenas. We saw that. We saw the Washington Capitals rebuild when they drafted Alex Ovechkin. We saw the Washington Nationals rebuild when they drafted Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg. We know what rebuilds involve. And yet and still, when you went to the draft, you sat up there and didn't show that you was planning on rebuilding. Ron Rivera needs to get it through his mind that he's not dealing with people who aren't intelligent enough to understand what a rebuild is. If you were so focused on the rebuild, why would you make moves that actually basically make it say you're not rebuilding? Ryan Fitzpatrick is the epitome of a pickup that clearly states you're not rebuilding. You just needed to drop the quarterback right into this great defense and all this talent that you now picked up on offense. Remember that? Or how about this whole thing? Like sitting up in here and blaming us for having false expectations when your two young defensive ends when Chase sat up there and said they were going for the duo record when it came to sacks. That came out of Chase's mouth. William Jackson III, I said this from the time minicamp was coming on, from the time minicamp was going on to the time training camp was going on, that he was struggling. And even now, it's still showing he's struggling. And a lot of that has to do with the arrogance of thinking that the transition that Ronald Darby made, William Jackson was going to be able to make it as well. And it did not work. The arrogance to release a guy like Jimmy Moreland, who could have helped us a lot, problem. Our secondary wasn't getting eat up like that last year. Not like this. They would have a couple big plays, but not like this. They get big play after big play after big play on them consistently. And we don't know what rebuilding is? Are you kidding me? Us, the Washington fan base, that has seen champions built, that has seen all types of teams go from drafting a guy that made sense to all of a sudden becoming champions later on, or coming close to being champions. We don't know. We don't understand it. Mike Shanahan took us through a rebuild that we understood. When we drafted Robert Griffin III, we didn't know what we was getting, but we understood that he was rebuilding. His very first year in Washington, his very first year in Washington, he took Trent Williams. We all understood that he had to rebuild that offensive line. Year 2, he tried to take the quarterback. Cam was gone, number 1 overall, so instead he took another building block, Ryan Kerrigan. Then guess what happened? 2012 rolls around. He didn't select 1 quarterback. He selected 2. So we know what rebuilds are, Ron Rivera. Do you understand what a rebuild is? A rebuild involves drafting guys that make sense. Jamin Davis did not make sense. And now I'm on board with everybody else. We should have just went on and tried to move up and get a quarterback. Even though I was one beating the door saying, we don't want to give up that much draft capital. But we should have went for a quarterback. Now on to the next victim person, Dan Snyder. He found a way to weasel himself out of this controversy. Found a way to weasel himself out of this controversy through the firing of Jon Gruden. Do y'all not see this? Do y'all not see? Remember, and I know that you guys probably don't remember this, but remember when the report came out that Fan Snyder was planning on suing Bruce Allen because it was his fault that his reputation and the team's reputation was broken? Remember that? Magically out of nowhere, poof, pow, woo, illusion. Jon Gruden is in trouble for emails back and forth to Bruce Allen. The bear is about to wake up from hibernation. And at the time when Ron Rivera is making disastrous decisions, a lot of y'all don't remember when that report came out. When that report came out, because this came out right before the big scandal where Dan Snyder, Fan Snyder, when the statement came out that he was planning on suing Bruce Allen. What better way to now make Fan Snyder Fan Snyder? What better way to make Fan Snyder look like the victim? By having these emails magically out of nowhere? Were these emails found during Beth Wilkinson's investigation, and now they're just now being let out? Not only that, Bruce Allen was fired way before the scandal even happened. Way before the scandal even happened. Remember, it was the 2 other guys who got fired later on who was still working here. And now, Fan Snyder is going to look like the ultimate victim here. The ultimate victim. Once they prove, because even when they were talking about it, they said Bruce Allen was sending Jon Gruden pictures, inappropriate pictures of cheerleaders. Like what? Fan Snyder has found a way to get himself out of trouble again. And he's going to be back in power at a time when Ron Rivera say, we're rebuilding. I am over this whole thing of the victim cards. I'm tired of it. Like I said, was this the culture that Ron Rivera was going to build? The culture of excuses, because every time he's come to the podium, he's had an excuse. He never has the answers. There's always an excuse. The answer is the excuse. That's Ron's plan. Oh, hey, Landon Collins ain't playing that well. Well, you know what it is that, you know, it wasn't his fault. It was somebody else's fault. It was only two plays. It was only two plays where we actually got beat. Which two plays? Which two plays? The Hail Mary? The pick play? The pick play that happened down in the end zone? That was by the same receiver. How about the 70-something yard bomb to a receiver who got injured and didn't even come in the rest of the game? Oh, what about the short pass that went to Alvin Kamara for a touchdown? What about the running play to Alvin Kamara for a touchdown? Which two plays are you talking about? Because in my opinion, this game was lost early on. And the fact that this defense, 3 straight quarterbacks, 4 touchdowns. 3 straight quarterbacks, 4 touchdowns. And we get to see who? Patrick Mahomes next. We're not wrong for expecting something good to come from a team that said that made moves to indicate that they were going to be okay this year, that they were going to be good this year. I did a show where we did a season prediction show, and my guy Tone from Protect Sports gave them 11 wins. I went as far as to give them 8 wins, and now I'm feeling like we both gave them too many wins. I don't know where we go from here. Because at this point, Ron Rivera has to rebuild the trust in the fan base to understand what's going on. And by the way, guess what? We still ain't got no team name. So guess what? We're going to go into the new season losers or losing with a new team name that, guess what? We probably all won't even like. I tell you, I thought that Ron was going to have a little bit more integrity than this. And the fact that he blamed us like it was our fault that we expected more after going 7-9 and making the playoffs, after our defense, which was ranked number 2 overall, we weren't supposed to have any type of expectations. We were supposed to just say, yeah, not a big deal. We made the playoffs. We made the playoffs. I don't know where we go from here, y'all. I don't even know. Ron Rivera needs to build the trust back into the fan base to get us to believe again that he is the real answer for us as a head coach. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.